Hi everyone and welcome to this tutorial. I'm Jutta Schneider and today we are going to draw and animate a lava lamp. So let's get started. First of all, we need to open our app Procreate on our iPad and we need to start with a new canvas. We can open a new canvas by hitting this plus button here in the project gallery. We tap plus. And either you choose one of the ones you have already in your canvas library, or you create a new one by tapping the plus button up there. For our first step, we are going to create our own brush. For that, we need a square canvas. And later on, I'm also going to draw on a square canvas. So I'm going to just use this canvas for both the brush and also our drawing. And my canvas will be in the dimensions of 3000 by 3000 pixels. However, if you don't have a very, very strong iPad, like an iPad Pro, you might not have enough layers for an animation. That's what I wanted to mention first. An animation really needs a lot of layers. So we want to make sure we have enough layers in our project. So if you know already that you're not going to receive like 70 layers with your dimension 3000 by 3000, I can show you how you can find out. Here we go. So I tapped in 3000 by 3000 and here we can see the maximum layers. That gives me 70. That should be plenty for this type of illustration. However, if you don't have 70 but much less, then you might better go with a smaller size. You can also go with 2000 or 1500 by 1500 pixels. And then you just tap Create and the new canvas opens. But I already have such a canvas in my library, so I'm just going to tap this and open that. Wonderful. So what we're going to do first is we want to create a stipple brush. The stipple brush is going to be our shader later on. And I want to show you how that works. It's super simple. So we need our pencil first. And we're going to go to the color black. It is very important when you create your brush that the color you use is pure black. And we can receive that by tapping twice down here in this black area. And the color, in like this little dot here in our color circle, will snap to pure black. And we can check that by checking the values. We just tap the word value here and we see here all the values are at 0 and that's exactly what we need. We need a pure black brush and a pure black color, of course. And we need a brush which is super simple. It can be a built-in brush. We could choose from, let's say, from the inking or from the calligraphy category. You could choose the monoline. Or in inking, you could choose Baskerville. Or you could choose the gel pen. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to draw with my monoline brush, my Nice Liner Mono. I create a lot of brushes which I give away in my Skillshare classes. I have several classes on Skillshare about drawing in Procreate in different styles. So you can check that out if you want to. You will find the link in the description box of this video. And I'm going to use my Nice Liner Mono. And what we are doing first now is just draw tiny little dots. And we're going to fill kind of a circle-ish area. If you would want, you could draw like a little circle underneath. Let's Just go down with the brush size a little bit to just give you a guideline. Let that snap. Tap with your finger to create a perfect circle. And then we just move that circle with snapping enabled. We just move that in the center of our canvas. Now let's open a new layer by tapping the plus. And then we're just gonna draw tiny little circles. For that we can increase the brush size. If the brush you're using is not big enough and you would have to really draw and fill it a lot, you could just go tap the brush and then the brush studio is gonna open and you go to properties. And here you can change the maximum size if you would want to. So you just check that and make that bigger or smaller, whatever you prefer. And then you tap done and the changes are saved. Okay, let's move on. So we just fill this circle here with tiny dots. Here and there. The size doesn't really matter. We just want something that shades our illustration later on. I might want to erase this one and draw that a little bit smaller. And I guess that's already pretty good. What I want to do now is I want to get rid of our guideline. So I tap my layers again and disable the visibility of our guideline by just tapping this check mark. And now we can't see it any longer. And now we need to copy our canvas. We could just go and save our canvas as a PNG, but there's a much faster way of doing so. So I've put a function on my Apple Pencil, which you can get when you double tap. I double tap my Apple Pencil and then the copy and paste window appears. And that's very handy for me. You could also achieve that if you go to the wrench tool and then to preferences and to gesture controls. And here the copy and paste menu is usually default, like 3-finger swipe down. But I just put it on my Apple Pencil double tap. So that's very handy for me. You can choose that too if you want to. If not, the gesture would be 3-finger swipe down. And then the copy and paste window appears. And now we want to say copy all. And that's what we do. And next we need to create a new brush. So we tap the brush again and tap the plus icon up here. And the brush studio opens with a very new brush with some default settings. So we want to go ahead and go to the shape area here and say edit, import, and now we want to paste our image. And here we have our image. It's just the wrong way around with the colors. We need it inverted and we can just achieve that by double tap. 2 fingers tap, and here we go. Super simple. And that is our shape source now. So we say done. And we can see already here it draws with our little dots. It just doesn't do what we really want it to do right now yet. So let's go ahead and make some more adjustments. We go to stroke path and we give it a little bit of jitter. Jitter makes that the stamp we are using, like the shape source we are using, is going to spread along the line. It's not following one line, but it's going to be placed randomly here and there. And that's exactly what we want for a shader. And we just want to make sure that the spacing is okay. Let's see, my spacing is at 10%, And the jitter is kind of with, yeah, 60%. And that's wonderful. That already looks super nice. Let's go to stabilization. We can add a little bit of a streamline. And with the shape, let me, we wanna enable the randomized here. Let's enable that. Here we go. That just makes that our stamp is going to rotate around like randomly so that it doesn't look so even. And we want some random stipples spread here and there. Very nice. And I also want to give my brush a little grain source here. So we go to grain, say edit, and import. And now we want to import something from the source library. Let's just tap it. And I want something grayish here. So one of those canvases here. Procreate comes with a lot of presets. That's really handy. We have a lot of shapes and grain sources we can use for our brushes. I guess I want to go with charcoal wine, but it has just automatically inverted the image, and that's not what I want. This would get too dark, so I want to have it a little lighter. I think I want to go with that here. So let's tap done. And rendering could stay like this. Apple pencil, we need to do some changes with the Apple pencil. I want to go and turn down the opacity a little bit and add a little bit of flow, I guess. And maybe even a little bit of a size. What that does is, the harder I press with the Apple pencil, it's getting first wider, it's getting more opaque, and the flow means that when I stop drawing, the opacity fades off a little bit. That's really nice, especially for a shader. And I want something that is pressure sensitive. So let's see. I press lightly and I have a light shading, and I press harder and I have it darker. That's very nice. Properties, I guess that's all right. We probably have to, maybe we have to turn down the preview size a little bit, and we can bump up the maximum size also. Here we go. And then we just need to name our brush. Let's name it. Let's name it shader, dotted, whoops, made by me. And then we can sign it. And as soon as you add a photo here, so you can tap this here and insert a photo. As soon as you've done that, the brush can't be changed anymore. This photo is always gonna be there, even if someone would go ahead and just copies your brush. He couldn't claim it as his because your photo is there. So if you plan in the future of making your own brush and give them away, so I always recommend to add a photo here for the reason that this can't be changed then any longer. Okay, and we tap done. And here is our shader dotted. Let's try it out. Yes, wonderful. It shades super nice. Very small, super small. That's maybe something we have to change. Let's go ahead, tap the brush, tap our shader again, and go to properties because we need to bump up the minimum size a little bit. Let's go with 4% and tap done. And because I don't really need this tiny brush, but that's perfectly all right. Awesome. This works super. And from now on, we don't need those canvases any longer. So we basically can go ahead and just delete them. Delete. And this layer we need to make visible again. And we just swipe with 3 fingers and then the layer is cleared. Okay, and now we're ready for our actual illustration. So what we want to draw is, we want to draw a lava lamp here in the center, kind of in a rocket shape and with a nice background. And then later on, we want to animate the blobs swimming in the lava lamp. Yeah, that moves up and down. So let's go ahead and start with our background maybe. I guess I want to choose a nice grayish blue. Like center of the circle here, and the big dot is kind of between turquoise and violet. And let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's okay. That's exactly what we need. We just need a dark background that our lamp is shining nicely. I want to add a new layer and where I draw the table or whatever surface our lamp is standing on. And I guess I want to choose a nice yellowish green here. Maybe like this. And for drawing, I'm gonna choose my nice liner mono again, but it doesn't really matter which brush you're using. You can use something with a texture, you can use something with crisp edges, that's totally up to you. So I'm gonna tap my nice liner again, and I will draw just a line here. Put my finger onto the screen to have it snap into an absolute horizontal line. And then I color drop this area here. So this is going to be the table where our lava lamp is standing on. Wonderful. Next thing we do is we want to turn on the drawing guide for our sketch. We want to make sure that our lava lamp is symmetrical, and the drawing guide built into Procreate helps us with this. So let's add a new layer. Let's go to the wrench tool. Let's go to Canvas and Drawing Guide. So we enable the drawing guide. And now we need to say Edit Drawing Guide because we want to change from 2D grid into symmetry. And this is what we find here. We just tap Symmetry and say Done. And now we have this little line here in the middle. And what I draw here is going to be drawn on the other side as well. Perfect. So as I already said, I want this kind of a rocket triangular shape downwards, and then this little foot here. So let's see. I'm going to choose just any dark color, some dark gray. Let's see if we can see that. And I'm going to switch to a sketcher brush. I have my own sketcher here. You can also go to the sketching here and pick whatever of the Procreate pencils, the built-in brushes, that they are perfectly fine. So, and then I'm going to just roughly indicate how my lamp is going to look like. Let's see. I'm just sketching rough lines. So this is kind of the shape I want for my lamp. This is going to be the foot, or however that's called. And this is going to be the top. And in the middle, there's this clear part with the liquid inside where the blobs are floating around. And that's already done. That looks like a lava lamp. I think we can clearly see that. Super simple. That's our sketch. So what we want to do first now is something that we need to know about animation. In Procreate, we need a background layer and we need a foreground layer for this type of animation. You can imagine that like a sandwich. Yeah, our background is the bottom layer and our foreground is the top layer of the bread. And in between, this is where our animation is going to happen. Yeah, so some areas of our drawing are going to be hidden by the lamp, which is on top, but we also want the blue background and the green tabletop. We want that to be in each frame of our animation. So that's very important. Let's go ahead then and add another layer and choose some sort of a lighter gray, maybe somewhere here. That's all right. And now I'm going to go back to my monoline brush and I draw my shapes and fill them with color. And I want to make sure that my animation assist is on. I put that, by the way, I put that on this little button here. I just tap that and now I see my drawing assist is on. You could also go ahead and just tap the layer and say drawing assist, enable drawing assist, and then the symmetry is going to work for this layer too. So what we're going to draw now is the top and the bottom of the lamp. Super simple. We just go, and that doesn't look nice. And create the shape. And if you tap and hold the pencil on your canvas, it's going to snap into a straight line. And if you put your finger, it's going to be a horizontal line or vertical, depends. And let's just color drop that. I guess we need to turn down the opacity of our sketch layer a little bit. So I just tap the letter N here and I turn down the opacity a little bit so I can still see my sketch, but I also see the outline of my drawings better. So let's go ahead and start with the foot. Okay, here a line. And here too. And now this little zigzag here. And there. Make sure the ends meet. And our shape is closed, all the lines are closed. And then we can color drop. Awesome, that looks perfect. Okay. Next, we need to draw the glass. And I found a very nice trick how we can do that. We need a new layer beneath the one with our gray color with the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go a layer underneath and add a new layer by tapping our plus. And now I need a very light color. Let's go and pick a very, very, very light yellowish color. And I'm still in my monoline brush. And I'm going to bump up its size now. And I'm going to draw a line down here. It's very fat, but that's intentional. Oh, I just saw we don't have the drawing assist enabled. So let's go ahead and turn on drawing assist. Here we go. So we draw our line, let it snap, and I guess we need it a little bit longer here. Okay. And here as well. So that it like vanishes behind our top and bottom part of our lamp. That doesn't look really fancy right now, I know, but we're gonna go and fix that now. So first I want to fix those corners here, make them a little bit round. Like so. And now we need our stipple brush. So wherever you saved your shader dotted, you're going to go and pick it now in the eraser library here. Yeah. So we turn down its size and now we start to erase with our stipples. That's a little bit too big. Let's go a little bit smaller. And now we erase the inner part of our white line with the stipples. So now it seems like it looks like glass. It just seems like the line is fading away with our stipples. Wonderful. It looks like glass. But I just want to add a tiny little reflection on the glass itself. So I'm going to turn off my drawing assist and pick my dotted brush here for drawing. And then I just draw like, but a little bit bigger. I'm just going to draw like a tiny reflection here outside on the glass. Now it looks kind of three-dimensional and yeah, like glass. Wonderful. I want to shade my top and bottom part also a little bit. So I think we can turn off our drawing guide now. We don't need that any longer. So I just went to the wrench tool, drawing guide, and turned that off. So, because the line sometimes is really disruptive. I want to add some shading here on the gray part. So let's go ahead and choose the layer with our gray parts and add another layer on top. And now we want to turn that into a clipping mask. So I tap the layer and I say clipping mask. This does that it only draws where pixels are in the layer below. It doesn't draw on the blue, it doesn't draw on the white, it only draws on the gray part. And that's exactly what I want. I want a dark color, so I'm going to pick a very dark gray again. And I'm going to shade the outside, but I want to decrease my brush size a little bit. And I just saw I turned off the clipping mask. Here we go. Clipping mask on again. And I'm going to shade the sides here. The sides here too. And you can already see it seems like round already. And the same we're going to do down here. Oops. Sometimes when my palm hits the screen, it kind of thinks it's fingers and it erases or it turns around the canvas, which can be a little bit annoying. However, sometimes the little issues and you just get used to deal with them. So that's the top part, I guess. Oh no. That's not the erasing part. Here we go. I'm going to switch to my eraser monoline because I want to have a sharp line down here. Because there's a different type of shade in between the top part and the bottom part. The top part is darker because it turns inwards. Of course, there's less light. Whereas here, where it turns outwards, the light from the lamp hits the foot down here. So this part is lighter. That's why I want to just create a little barrier here. And then I'm going to go ahead and shade even more. I want to make sure that the outside edge is really dark. And it fades towards the center. Like so. And I also want to give it a little reflection with a light color. So let's go and pick our light tone again. And then I'm just going to indicate here some light reflection here, a little bit here, and a little bit more down here. Awesome. And if the contrasts are too strong for you, you just turn down the opacity of the layer here by just, sliding back and forth until you like what you've seen. I guess I want a little bit more of the dark color here. And then I guess we need a tiny little shade under the lamp on the surface where it's standing on. So let's go to the green layer here, add another layer, and add the shading. Just down here with our stipple brush, just some indication of a shade here underneath. And we can also already add a little bit of a light tone here because the lamp is soon going to shine. So, and it projects the light onto the surface. So we are going to have like lighter area here. But maybe we want to increase the brush size a little bit. Like this. Just a tiny, tiny little indication of light here. And now we're going to go to our magic wand tool, tap that, and go to Gaussian blur and blur our shading a little bit by just swiping with our pencil to the right. And that's exactly what I want. Super. Next thing, we need a little bit of shine or glow, and that's going to be behind the glass. So we definitely are going to draw that on a layer above our shade now. So let's add another layer. And with our light color picked, we're just going to draw like a half circle down here. But maybe we are going to pick the nice liner brush. And then we just draw a tiny little, and then we just draw a tiny little crescent here. The shape doesn't really matter. It actually doesn't even matter that it goes over the lamp because we're going to make it glow now anyway. So we have our crescent here. We go to our magic wand and to Gaussian blur again. And now we blur that so that it's really fading out. Awesome. That's super. That's our light source number 1. We need another one underneath. So let's go ahead, go onto the layer below and add another layer. Here we go. And now we're going to work with a little bit with the blend mode. I've got to experience that when you use the blend mode, the colors are really bright and vibrant, and you are able to create super nice texture just with the colors. That's awesome. I find it easier to create different colors that really go well with each other by using the blend modes. Whereas when I pick them in the color circle, that's really, I don't know, I'm not really good at that. I find it easier to use the blend modes. And the very interesting part is that you can use the colors that you've already chosen. So let me pick that. Let me pick the blue. I just tap the canvas a little longer and then it snapped to blue. And the layer we've just chosen, I'm gonna choose the color blend mode Add. You just go down until you find Add. You could also use color dodge or screen. You just check later on what you like best. For me, it's Add. And now with my monoline brush, I'm just gonna draw the shape of our lamp. It doesn't really matter that we follow the lines properly. We just fill it now, and now you see we have this nice light blue, and this is what we're gonna blur as well. Let's blur that too. Just go, swipe to the right until we have this nice kind of glow around our lamp. I think that looks awesome. So we just tap the wand again and perfect. Now our lava lamp is empty. Now we're gonna come to the fun part with the animation. And let me first of all turn off my sketch layer and put it somewhere towards the bottom. And now we need to start our animation assist. Go to the wrench tool and enable animation assist. And now it looks super weird. That's totally normal because we didn't make the right adjustments yet. So a few layers are going to be in the background. I mentioned that already. And a few layers are going to be in the foreground. And to make Procreate understand which layers we want to be in the back and which ones we want to be in the front, we need to place them properly. That's why I just put the sketch layer underneath. Yeah. So what we need as a background is, of course, the blue color. And also, let's just swipe to the right with a layer, with the sketch layer as well. The green part, the shade, and our glow layers. And we need to group them. Animations work with single images played quickly after one another. And in those images, there's tiny little changes happening. Yeah. And it doesn't really matter for Procreate if it's a single layer or is it a group of layers. And that's really important. So if you group a layer, you can have, if you group layers together, it's gonna treat this group as one single layer. And this is exactly what we want right now. So you can see, now that's our background. And we tap this little window down here in our animation assist window here. And we enable the background here. We just, toggle that on. Okay, so our background, that means this layer is going to be visible throughout the whole animation. Next is, here we can see this is our glass layer and this is our, top and bottom layer. But of course we want them to show up together as well. So we also need to put them into a layer group. And that's what we're doing now. We just swipe to the right until they're all marked blue and we say group. Awesome. And now we can name this foreground. And the animation is now happening in between, where the lamp with the glass, but also the background are always going to stay the same. And just in between are the little blobs happening. I just think we need to turn down the opacity of our white glow here a little bit. That should be fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with drawing our blobs now. For that, I wanted to mention, A background layer or group can only turn into a background when it's at the very bottom of the layer panels. Whereas the foreground layers can only be chosen or turned into a foreground layer when it's at the very top of our layers panel. That's really important. Otherwise, you won't have the, you won't see those background or foreground toggles here. So that's really important that you make sure you place them correctly. Okay, so let's go to our background and add another layer, or down here you can also say add frame. That's super simple. So we added a frame and it's in between the background and the foreground. That's exactly what we need. And we are going to draw blobs now, moving. Some are gonna move upwards and some are moving downwards. And I guess we kind of have the ones that are moving upwards on one side and the ones that are moving downwards on the other side, just for the sake of simplicity. And I think I want to draw my lava in a nice orange, a nice bright orange. A warm one towards the red, maybe like this. And I'm going to choose my monoline brush and start with drawing my lava down here. Just some sort of blob. And the other lava is already at the very top because we have some coming from the top and some coming from the bottom. Okay, that's my first frame. Wonderful. This is how we're going to start. Now we say add frame. I added a frame, which is basically a new layer on top. And now I'm gonna change a little bit and draw it a little bit differently, like this. So here is one lava blob kind of starting to rise, and here's one lava drop kind of starting to fall. Okay, now I say add frame again, and it's really handy. I can see now those turquoise areas are the layers underneath, and the drawing assist is helping me by showing how they appear here. To help me deciding where the next layer needs to be drawn to. However, too many onion skins, this is how they are called, if you see too many of them, that can be very distractive. So I want to turn the number of onion skin frames a little bit down to basically to just one. So that means I only see the layer before, and that's enough. That's not super distractive. Now I can see where I want to draw my next shape. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this in this kind of shape here now. It doesn't really matter. And here one blob already went off. Let's add a new, whoops, I added 2 frames. So next part is this blob is gonna go away from the bottom part, and whoops, and some lava stays on the bottom like this. This drop falls further down, and that's awesome. Next frame, this blob is gonna rise. This is gonna sink down, and this is gonna just wave around for now, as well as this one here. Let's add another frame. This floats up again, and as they're floating, they change their shape. So it's natural that you can just draw them in whatever shape you want. And I also want another blob kind of evolving on the bottom, as well as another blob kind of coming down from the top. Super. Whoops. Let's add another frame. So here we get even a bigger blob from the bottom. This blob sinks down. This rises up. And here we have another blob that just kind of removed, or I don't know, left the top part. I don't know how to explain that. Okay, next frame. Let's have this even getting bigger. This coming down. This rising and kind of changing its shape. This sinks. Awesome. Next frame. Add another frame. Whoops, I added two again. Here we go. So this kind of gets off of the bottom part here. But this one kind of blends in the bottom part. Here the tiny blob sinks, and this blob kind of arrives at the top here. Awesome. Next frame. So let's see. This comes down. This sinks into the bottom. This rises, creating a funny shape. This goes further into the top part. And here we go. We need to make sure that kind of our rising and falling cycles meet at the beginning again. So it's possible that we have to add some more blobs in the beginning part. But let's make sure right now. So our beginning part was basically nothing here and nothing there, and also nothing in the middle. We want to make sure later on, we're going to check if that's still possible, if we can keep that, or if we have to add some more blobs. So let's see. This falls down and this rises. Next frame. This rises. This sinks. And whoops, this blob here, whoops, kind of blends. And this also kind of gets smaller. I just went over the top. So where I want to go now is I want to go have this blob here just meet this one, and this just sink down so that we kind of come back to our beginning. Let's add another frame. Let's have this, whoops. Let's have this rising, this sinking, this getting smaller, this too. Wonderful. Add another frame. Have this getting smaller as well. This rising, almost there. This sinking, and this stays as it is. Add a frame. This stays here. This kind of reaches it almost. Same as here. And add frame. So this goes up into the very top. This goes here onto the bottom. And then we're almost at our beginning frame. I just again went over the top here. Okie dokie. Now I want just these blobs to get smaller again. And then we're almost at the beginning. So let's go back to our brush. Make this a little bit smaller. As well as this one. And now what I want to do now is I want to take this frame here and bring it at the very bottom to just see if these guys kind of meet or if we need something in between. So I just took it with a pencil and basically dragged it here into the front. So that's the bottom layer. So this is where we started, and you can see, now you can see two different colors. The turquoise color is the frame from before the previous frame, and the orange color, that's the frame that's upcoming. And when there's too big of a discrepancy in between, I can see I need to just draw something in between. And this is what I want to do now. So let's see. Between here and there is quite a huge gap. So I'm going to go to this frame right now. We transport it to the beginning and add another frame. And now I'm going to just draw something that is in between those two shapes. Especially here. And then it starts again. So now we let the magic happen and we just hit play. Wow, it looks super cool. It just moves too quickly for our lava lamp. So let's pause once more and go to our settings panel here. And now we want to bump down the number of our frames per second. That's what makes it so fast. So we turn down the number. Let's go with 6 frames and hit play. Oh man, that's mesmerizing. Haha, how cool. So the blobs are sinking and falling and rising and falling. So cool, but I guess it could still be a little bit slower. Let's maybe go with 5. 3 is probably too slow. Maybe let's go with 5. Maybe 4. That's great. I love that. I love that. That looks super cool. The last thing we need to do is just shade our blobs a little bit to make them also kind of look three-dimensional. And for that, we need to go to our layers panel where we can see all of our blob layers now. This is a little bit tedious, and it's possible that I'm gonna make the video pace a little bit faster, that you don't have to see each and every stroke I'm drawing, but that's super helpful to make it look like even more realistic. And what we need to do first is to save on layers. We just swipe each layer to the right with 2 fingers and turn them into alpha lock. Alpha lock is kind of doing the same as a clipping mask, just on one layer. So I can now, when I turned on alpha lock, I can only draw on this layer where there's already pixels. And I see this is this orange layer here, and this is the only layer, only area where there's already pixels. So I can only draw at this spot. And that's super important. We want to give it a little bit of a dark shade with our stipple brush, the one we created in the beginning. And we also want to give him some highlights. And of course, we don't want to go over the blobs and just draw somewhere else. The only downside we have is when you draw on an alpha lock layer and you need to erase something, then you're going to erase everything, all the shading and all the color that's underneath. So you need to keep that in mind. Usually I prefer clipping masks before alpha lock for this reason, because then I can just erase in the clipping mask layer and I don't damage the layer underneath. However, when we want to create an animation, we need a lot of layers, so we need to be mindful of how many layers we're using. So that's a good cause for alpha lock use. We just need to be a little bit careful with how we draw our shading. Okay, let's just go ahead and swipe each of the layers to the right. If that's not working for you, that's no problem. You can also tap the layer and hit alpha lock, and then that's the same. So you just swipe, or you do it manually via the menu. Swipe, 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 whoops, and the last one. Here we go. Now we need to do another cool trick. Yeah. Let's just go to this layer here. And I want to increase the size that you see what I'm doing. For now, just for this very second, I'm gonna add another layer on top. I turn that into a clipping mask and I change the blend mode to, I guess, linear burn. Yeah. And now I'm gonna draw on top with the same orange color, but due to the blend mode I've chosen, they're gonna react with one another and they create this wonderful dark orangey red. And this is the color I just picked by tapping it a long time. And I wanna save this color. I wanna just tap in this palette underneath here. I just tap into one little box, and this is where I keep this color. And now I'm gonna switch to, let's say, add lighter color overlay, screen. I guess I'm gonna go to add and do the same trick again. So I just tap it with my finger for a long time, pick this color, tap the color picker and tap in this little box next to it. And now I have those two colors saved. I want to use them for the shading. So now I don't need this layer any longer. I'm just swiping to the left and say delete. Next thing I need to do is I need to pick my stipple shader dotted brush, and I'm going to go ahead and start with shading. And for this step, we need to remember the light source in a lava lamp is on the bottom, because that's what makes the lava float. It warms it up, so it rises up, and up there it's going to cool down, so it sinks down again. And so every blob that's facing towards the bottom of the lamp has a little bit of a highlight, and everything on the opposite side is gonna have a shade. So let me just show that. So I'm gonna use my shader brush and just draw the bottom here a little lighter. Maybe I'm increasing the brush size a little bit. Let's go back. Am I on the right? Yes. So I'm gonna light it up down here. But you know what? I think this is even still too dark. Let's go to this color and bump this little circle a little bit towards white. And then we're gonna save it again. So I just tap this yellow I want to change, and for a little while, and then this window appears and I'm going to choose set current color. Set it. And now I have this lighter tone saved here. So that's better. So down here, of course, it's a little bit lighter, but on the top, it's a little bit darker. And towards the edges as well, because it's a round blob. And this is what we just want to indicate. So here it's going to be darker, but down there it's going to be lighter. Yay! And this is how that works. And now I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of our layers, but I'm going to speed up our video that just takes too much time and is a little bit boring to watch. Welcome back. I hope you also were able to shade all of your blobs. And now let's check the final illustration. Let's go and hit play. Wow, it looks so cool. I love it. I hope you like it as well. And I also hope you're going to show me what you've created with this video. You can follow me on Instagram or even here on YouTube. I would really appreciate if you could subscribe and share my video if you liked it. That's going to help me a lot creating more cool videos. Let me know in the comments what you maybe want me to draw for you or with you. And yeah, I hope you had as much fun as I had in this illustration, and I'm hoping to see a lot of your animated lava lamps either on Instagram or on YouTube. And then we're gonna see each other in my next tutorial. Bye!